Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back in AI era, Islamic Abrahamic wisdom. Empires rarely fall from lack of resources. They fall from arbitrary, unjust or chaotic revenue collection. Hazrat Umar ibn al-Khattab raziyallahu ta'ala anhu confronted this constitutional question in 18 AD. How can a government collect public revenue fairly, efficiently and without tyranny? The solution was Diwān al-Kharāj, a centralized fiscal bureau that transformed taxation from coercion into lawful public finance. According to Mr. Zahir Ahmad Mir, this episode shows justice in numbers is the foundation of state stability.
From his book, The Foundation of Islamic Jurisprudence, we're going to explore a fiscal revolution from the era of the second caliph, Umar ibn al-Khattab. You'll see how his truly groundbreaking ideas on public finance completely redefine the relationship between a government and its people, with lessons that are, you won't believe it, still incredibly relevant today. So let's start with the problem that has toppled empires throughout history, a challenge that, honestly, every single government faces. How do you collect revenue without destroying the very society you're supposed to serve? This is what we can call the crisis of collection. And this quote, man, it just nails it. The issue usually isn't a lack of wealth in the land. The real crisis, the thing that sparks rebellion and decay, comes from the method of collection. This was the fundamental challenge Hazrat Umar was staring down. How do you fund a rapidly growing state without crushing your people? Without sparking an injustice so great that the whole thing just tears itself apart? Okay, so picture this. The early caliphate is expanding at a breathtaking speed, but it's facing a critical vulnerability. Its financial system was basically a patchwork of old customs and on-the-fly decisions. Without a real coherent system, every new territory, every tax season was like a ticking time bomb, threatening the stability of the entire state. And this is where things get really hairy. These 5 critical dangers just popped up everywhere. You had local officials overtaxing people to line their own pockets, or maybe undercollecting to buy favors. Corruption was spreading like a sickness, and the farmers, the engine of the entire economy, they were being strangled. All of this injustice was a perfect recipe for rebellion. Hazrat Umar recognized a fundamental truth clear as day. Fiscal justice is political stability. They're one and the same. So how do you solve a problem this big? The solution wasn't a new accounting method or a better spreadsheet. No, it came from a profound philosophical shift. It required a complete redefinition of what public money, what state revenue actually is. And this right here is the revolutionary idea. Hazrat Umar established a profound rule, practically a constitutional one. Public revenue is an amana, a sacred trust. It's not the ruler's personal piggy bank. It's not a spoil of war to be plundered. It's a trust given by the people to the state for the good of the people. And you know what? This single idea changed everything. This chart just lays it out so perfectly. It's the before and after. On one side, you've got the old model. Arbitrary, coercive, totally unaccountable, based on nothing more than raw power. On the other side, you have the Amana model, fair, transparent, accountable, and constantly audited. The whole system moved from being based on the whims of power to being based on principles of justice. Now, a principle this big needs an institution to make it real. Enter the Diwān al-Kharāj. You can think of it as a centralized treasury department, but one designed from the ground up to ensure taxation was a function of law, not of raw power. So what did this institution actually do? Well, it wasn't just about collecting money. It assessed land and standardized tax rates to make sure things were fair. It kept meticulous records. It supervised the collectors. And crucially, it served as a court of appeals for tax disputes. It was a complete end-to-end system for just financial management. Now this is just brilliant. A key innovation was this built-in separation of powers. So one official would assess how much a piece of land could produce. A completely different official would collect the tax based on that assessment. And then a third central office would record both transactions to cross-check everything. By making sure no single person controlled the whole process, the system just dramatically cut down on the chances for extortion and bribery. It's genius. This whole system was built on a set of financial principles that were, and I'm not kidding, centuries ahead of their time. These weren't just abstract rules, they were deep economic insights being put into actual practice. Hazrat Umar totally rejected the old imperial models of just demanding a flat tribute from a province no matter what their situation was. He understood a simple, profound economic truth. You cannot tax people into poverty and expect the state to thrive. It's common sense, right? If you destroy the productive capacity of your people, you destroy your own tax base. So, how they put this into practice? With data. The Diwān conducted these detailed land surveys. They differentiated between types of crops. They analyzed irrigation, was the land rain-fed or did it need a ton of labor to water? The tax was based on the actual real-world capacity of the land. This protected the farmer's livelihood and at the same time ensured a stable source of revenue for the state. This quote just perfectly captures this philosophy of sustainable economics. The goal was never to squeeze every last drop of wealth in the short term. No, the goal was to ensure the long-term health and prosperity of the economy and its people, because they knew that a healthy population creates a healthy state. Look, this wasn't just some ancient administrative reform. It was a constitutional revolution, and it has these powerful lessons that remain incredibly relevant for how we think about government and public finance even today. To really get the impact of this, you have to understand just how different it was from everything else at the time. Let's compare it directly to how most other empires operated then and even for centuries later. This slide makes the contrast just crystal clear. The typical empire assessed taxes based on brute force and collected based on the whim of the ruler. The taxpayer? They had no rights. Power was absolute. Hazrat Umar's system was the complete opposite in every single way. It was based on data, governed by law, it gave taxpayers the right of appeal, and it held officials accountable. He built a system of rule-bound revenue without tyranny. It was, in effect, a fiscal constitution before formal constitutions were even a thing. The lessons for modern governance are just striking. Tax according to capacity, not just what's convenient. Separate powers to fight corruption. Give taxpayers a real right of appeal. Show people how their money is actually serving the public good, and audit everything. These principles, they are still the gold standard for just and effective public finance anywhere in the world today. And ultimately, this is the profound takeaway. Hazrat Umar proved that the true legitimacy and strength of a state don't come from the sheer size of its bank account, but from the trust of its people. A treasury filled through injustice is a foundation of sand. A treasury built on justice, even if it's smaller, builds a state of solid rock. This wasn't just finance, it was constitutional morality expressed in numbers. And that concludes our look at the Diwān al-Kharāj. If you found these ideas on justice and governance as powerful as we do, please do us a huge favor. Subscribe to our channel, like this explainer, and share it with your friends. It really helps us continue bringing these amazing historical insights to light. Join us next time as we continue exploring Hazrat Umar's foundational decisions. We're going to examine how he created a fair and meritocratic system for salary distribution, tackling that crucial question of who gets paid, how much, and why. Fairness in compensation is so critical for a just state. We'll see you then.